Welcome back, survivalists. So you probably already have a home emergency kit so that you can keep you and your family safe during power outages and hurricanes and blizzards. And within that home emergency kit, I bet you already have all your essentials covered. Probably have some extra food, some extra water, some warm blankets, some extra batteries. But I'm willing to bet that there are a few items that you forgot to buy for your emergency kit. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today I'm going to go over the 10 items that you probably forgot to buy for your home emergency kit. So the first item on the list is going to be some sort of solar charge light source. So you probably already have some flashlights and some batteries, but batteries go bad over time and batteries run out. The last thing that you want is to grab your emergency kit just to find that all your batteries are dead. And relying on battery powered flashlights is fine for a short-term duration, but what happens when that 2-day power outage turns into a week-long power outage or maybe a month-long power outage? This is why I'm a big fan of having some sort of solar charge light source within your emergency kit. One, you don't have to worry as much about dead batteries, and two, if this does turn into a long-term disaster, you'll be covered. And there's a lot of different solar charge light sources out there today. One that I'm a big fan of is Luminade. And this is the light right here, and you can see it has a little solar charger on the top, and it just has a small LED light in there. But because of this inflatable box here, it really diffuses the light and kind of spreads it out over a large distance. And these things are incredibly light. I bring this thing camping with me all the time. A lot of times I'll just strap this onto the back of my backpack as I'm hiking, or when I actually get to my campsite, I'll just pull this out and just sit it out. And this thing will charge, and there's usually enough light in there for me during the nighttime while I'm camping. You know, by all means, you can use your flashlights as well, but I would try to rely on the light from this as much as possible, just because during the next day, you can leave this out in the sun to charge. Hybrid Light is another cool brand that does a lot of pretty unique designs where they incorporate solar panels into their flashlights as well. And this is one that I got my hands on recently. I'm a big fan of it. So this one has a panel of LEDs on the front here, so you can get a great big light, but it also has a smaller directional light on the top here. And as you can see, this has a solar panel built into the back of it. But what is cool about this is that you can also charge this directly from your outlet. So if you know that there's a hurricane coming, or you know there's a bad storm, you may lose power. What I typically do is I charge this up from my wall outlet before the hurricane or storm comes my way. And a lot of disasters, I'd say about half of them, you know ahead of time that they're coming your way. You know that there's a blizzard coming your way, or a hurricane, or a bad bad storm. So you do have an opportunity to charge up battery sources like this. Another cool feature about this one is that it also has a USB port on the front. So that means that you can charge this from that USB port. So let's say you do have a week-long power outage, you can go out to your car, charge this up, and then bring it back into your home. But you can also charge things from this battery using this USB port. That is what I'm a big fan of. So I've gotten to the habit of bringing this with me when I go camping, and I use this as a charger for my cell phone while I'm camping as well. And so you can also do that, right? If you do have a 24-hour, 48-hour power outage, if this was fully charged, you could use this battery to charge your cell phone. And in a completely bad situation that lasts a week or a month, you could charge this up using the sun in the daytime and then charge your phone off of that. But Hybrid Light does have a bunch of really cool, different, innovative designs. I'll have links down in the description to a few of my favorite flashlights of them, but I think something like this would be a great addition to anybody's home emergency kit. So the next item that you probably forgot to buy is an emergency radio. I'm a big fan of emergency radios, and I definitely think that people should include these in their home emergency kits. In a lot of disaster situations, access to information is absolutely crucial, and having access to just the local weather report, or more importantly, broadcasts from FEMA, can be literally the difference between life and death. Let's say your 2-day long power outage turns into a month-long power outage, and FEMA is actually coming to your city with resources, free food and free water. All you need to do is just go down to their station to get it. Well, how are you going to know that if you don't have an emergency radio like this? They're going to be broadcasting that message out on radio stations. So having an emergency radio is going to keep you in the know of resources and help in your area during a disaster situation. I'd also argue that there can be a morale boost as well from a radio like this. When you have no power, no internet, no cell phone connectivity, being able to listen to some music on your radio can be a real morale boost and kind of keep your spirits up, which I think is pretty important during a disaster situation. And many of these emergency kits these days, they also come with solar chargers built into them. They typically have a hand crank on them as well to charge the battery, and they typically have multiple flashlights built into them as well. So this one has a bank of LEDs or a directional flashlight like that. Many of them these days also have a rechargeable battery and also take replaceable batteries as well. So if you have plenty of batteries, you can replace them and use this for morale boosts and whatnot, but it has that chargeable battery in there as well, which you can charge off of these LED panels. Something like this also has a USB port on the back. So if you really had to, you could charge your phone off of this. You could sit there and crank away at this for as long as it takes in order to charge that phone. But I really do think that having an emergency radio like this is a pretty important item to have in your home emergency kit, just so that you have kind of this last source of vital information during a disaster situation. Also having the functionality of having flashlights and solar chargers and being able to charge your phone off of it. Those are all just benefits, like extra perks. That's not really, I wouldn't necessarily rely on those things, but using this to have access to critical information can literally be the difference between life and death. So the next item on the list is going to be a portable battery charger. So these things have come way down in price in recent years, which I'm really happy to see. You can get something like this for about $20, and this could probably charge your phone 4 or 5 times if this thing was fully charged. Or you can get something much bigger like this, which could probably charge a phone 10, 15 times off of it. And again, many disaster situations, you may know ahead of time that you may have a disaster situation in terms of blizzards and bad storms and hurricanes. And what I recommend is you charge something like this up ahead of time. So if I had to go 3-4 days without any power to my house, I at least know that my phone is going to be fully charged. Many of my flashlights as well that have rechargeable batteries, I can charge off of something like this. And this particular one actually has a pretty decent sized solar panel built into it. So again, during the daytime, I can put this out in the sun and charge this up. So theoretically, I could have access to power for my phone almost indefinitely. If that 2-day power outage turns into a month-long power outage, I'll at least have my phone working. In a lot of disaster situations, one of the top priorities to get back up and running is going to be the cell phone towers so that everybody's phones actually work. And you having a working phone during a disaster can be a huge, huge game changer. With your cell phone, you'll be able to access critical information as well as communicate with loved ones. And this is why I really do think having a portable battery charger for your phone is really important for everybody to have, whether you get just a cheap $10, $15, $20 one, or you buy something a little bit bigger that you can use in a long-term situation for $45, $50. I think that that is absolutely a steal and a bargain for how affordable these things have become in the last few years. So next item on the list is going to be hand warmers. So I'm a big fan of having hand warmers in my survival kits and my home preps. I even bring these when I go camping. Now you may be saying, well, what if it's a month-long power outage? Having a few hand warmers isn't going to do me much good. And that may be true, but I want to point out that most power outages and most disaster situations only last a few days. A week-long power outage is not that common, although it does happen. A month-long power outage is pretty rare here in the US at least as well. So a hand warmer is going to be great for those short-term disasters, which are far more common. And even if you're in a warmer climate, I still recommend that you include some hand warmers. We saw last year that polar vortex came all the way down to Texas, and they had that winter power outage where hundreds of thousands of people lost power for weeks on end in the middle of winter with freezing cold temperatures, and people were literally freezing to death in their homes and in their cars. And for many of those people in Texas, a blizzard and a winter power outage is probably the last thing that they're preparing for, but many of them would have killed to have a hand warmer. And hand warmers are not just for a morale boost either. Hypothermia and frostbite are very real and very serious conditions that can arise if you are subjected to freezing cold temperatures for too long. And hand warmers aren't that expensive. I definitely recommend that you buy some hand warmers for you and your family to include in your home emergency kit. So the next item on the list is going to be a first aid kit. So first aid kits are one of the less glamorous items in the prepping community. They're not necessarily like a fun toy that you can bring camping and play around with, but they are a very important thing to include in your home emergency kit. And because of that, I think a lot of people may overlook first aid kits, or maybe it's one of the last things on their list to buy for the emergency kit, but they are very important to include in your emergency kit. And you don't need a really large one, just a basic first aid kit. Again, most disaster situations are only going to last a few days and then you can get to the hospital. So you don't necessarily need a 500-piece first aid kit that has everything that you need so they can perform a life or death surgery on your family. Just a basic first aid kit with some bandages and gauze and something to keep any wounds from getting infected. That is really one of the most important things about first aid kits is that it keeps wounds from getting further infected and a bad situation turning into a worse situation. So there's a pretty good chance that you may have forgotten to buy a first aid kit for your home preps, but I definitely would encourage you to go and buy one right now for your home emergency kit. Before we get to the final 5, if you want to know how I discover the latest and coolest prepping and outdoor gear like Luminade and Hybrid Light, it's from my subscription to BattleBox. BattleBox is a monthly subscription service for preppers and outdoor enthusiasts. And they have 4 different tiers of boxes that you can sign up for starting at $30 a month. So if you are interested in BattleBox and you want to join me every month on this channel and unboxing my latest BattleBox, I do have an affiliate link down in the description below, as well as a coupon code for my subscribers only where you can save 10% on your first order. Once again, my affiliate link is down in the description below. So the next item on the list is going to be a headlamp. I am a big fan of headlamps for emergency situations or when I go camping. Frankly, I don't really have that many standard directional flashlights anymore. All I really have is solar charged lanterns and lights and headlamps. So why do I like headlamps so much? I like them because your hands are free. If you're holding a traditional flashlight, well, now you have to do something with only one hand, and there's so many situations where having both hands is going to be very important. Whether you're cooking food, whether you're fixing something, whether you're applying first aid, or just going to the bathroom, having both hands free is a really, really nice thing during a disaster emergency situation. Also, just if you're camping or just trying to flip the circuit breaker back on in your home. Many campers and backpackers, all they carry with them is headlamps like this. So I'm a big fan of having headlamps like this in your emergency kit rather than a standard flashlight, just so your hands are free to do various tasks during that disaster situation. So the next item on the list is going to be a deck of cards. And I can hear you already, you're saying, but that's not an essential survival item, that's more of a luxury item. And I would actually disagree. I think that something to keep your brain stimulated during disaster situations is pretty important in an emergency kit. Now, I wouldn't say this probably isn't the first 10 items that you buy for your home emergency kit. There are some more important items, but this is definitely something that you should include in your emergency kit. So let's say you experience a bad blizzard or a hurricane. You need to go an entire week sheltering in place in your home with no electricity, no TV, no internet, no cell phone connectivity. You and your family are going to go crazy. You're gonna get bored out of your mind and you're gonna become complacent. There's a saying in the military, complacency kills. And you see this a lot with people who are deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. Maybe their first month overseas, they're on point, right? They're cleaning their weapons all the time. They're very vigilant. But after 6 months, after 12 months, they become more and more complacent. They don't clean their weapons as often. They don't take care of themselves as well as they did when they first arrived, and they may not be as alert about their situation, their situational awareness, as when they were first deployed. Complacency kills, and this absolutely applies during emergency situations. During most emergency situations, your best course of actions is literally to shelter in place. Just stay put in your home. But if you're stuck indoors 3, 4, 5 days with nothing to do, you're gonna become complacent and you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna start taking risks that you probably wouldn't have during the first 24 hours. This is why I think it's very important to have something in your emergency kit to help stimulate your mind. And I'm a big fan of just a deck of cards because of how versatile this is. Even if you're just playing solitaire, it's at least stimulating your mind. Now, if you want to include other items like books and puzzles and board games, you by all means can do that as well. I'm just a fan of a deck of cards just because of how small and lightweight it is and how versatile it is, right? If you had to play rummy or poker 3-4 days in a row, right, that could be enough to help keep your brain stimulated. So after you have a lot of your essential items, I'm a big fan of including a deck of cards in your emergency kits as well. The next item on the list is going to be duct tape. So duct tape is just one of those general purpose items that you can find a use for in a lot of situations. Just a lot of situations where you have two items that you need to attach somehow, and having some duct tape is going to help you in doing that. Duct tape is also really great at sealing air gaps as well. So let's say you want to shelter in place in one single room, you could use duct tape to literally seal the gaps around your windows, seal your air vents coming into the windows, seal the gaps around the doors as well. And there are many disaster situations that is called for to seal up all the gaps. Even in that winter blackout that we saw in Texas, having some duct tape to seal up all the cracks and gaps around all your doors could have a huge impact on how much cold air is coming into your house. Duct tape is also really great at fixing things, including things like your own clothes or a tent or a broken window. It's just one of those very, very versatile and very useful items to have during a huge array of different situations, and I really do recommend having some duct tape in your home emergency kit. The next item on the list is going to be fire extinguishers. So again, a fire extinguisher is one of these items that's not very fun, it's not very sexy, but it's kind of a required item. Like, you need to have this, you need to check that box off of your list. Now, you should already have multiple fire extinguishers in your home right now. If you don't have, I'd say at least one fire extinguisher for every floor of your house. Go and buy one right now. These things are that important. Everybody should have a few fire extinguishers in their home already. But if you're building an emergency kit, you can also include additional fire extinguishers in that kit as well. And if you don't want to get anything big and heavy as that, they make smaller fire extinguishers in these aerosol cans like this and like this. These would be great items to include in your home or office emergency kits, your bug out bag, your get home bag, or your wilderness survival kit. I'm a big fan of having some fire extinguishers available to you. And the reason these are so important for your emergency kit is because you are probably playing with fire a lot more during a disaster situation. You're probably lighting candles, you may have a fire in your fireplace, you may be cooking over an open flame, and you and your family and maybe your kids are probably not used to having so many fire hazards around all the time. You may even become complacent after a few days of lighting candles. That's why I really, really recommend that you at a minimum have some small fire extinguishers like this in your emergency kit, in addition to having multiple fire extinguishers like this within your house. The next item on the list is going to be a propane burner. So something like this is designed to be portable and designed for campers to bring out into the woods with them. It's got its own stand right here. And it's just a propane tank that releases the gas up here. You light it and you set a pan or a pot or just cook over the open flame right there. Many people rely on their electric stove and their microwave to cook the majority of their meals. If you don't have electricity, the vast majority of people probably don't have any means of cooking anything. A compact propane burner like that is going to allow you to cook some warm meals during a disaster situation, which is going to help with your morale, help keep you warm. But more importantly, you can also use it to purify water. You can boil water and turn water from a stream into drinkable water for you and your family. And that's pretty important in a lot of different situations. During hurricanes and floods, they can contaminate city water and public water. If you rely on your own well, but you don't have any electricity, well, now you can't pump the water out of your well. If you are experiencing a winter power outage or a blizzard, all the pipes may be frozen, so you can't get any water coming in. You may need to rely on melting snow to have a clean source of drinking water. Public water becoming contaminated is not that uncommon during disaster situations, and you need to have some way to purify that water. Now, you can buy water filters, you can buy little tablets that you drop into the water, but just one of the simplest and easiest ways is literally to just boil it. And I love that you can use this for water purification, but you can also use it to cook a warm meal as well. So out of those 10 items, how many of them did you already have in your home emergency kit? I'm curious. Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you want to check out 10 survival items that you can buy for literally $1 each, check out my video right here. And don't forget to sign up for BattleBox using my affiliate link down in the description below. And I also have a code down there how you can save 10% on your first order. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys over in the next video.